Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was Trained by Gol.D Roger movie. Before we start, please go support YavesArch for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Information. Alright, time for the information. Full name: Izuku Midoriya. Height: 6'2", before 10 months, 6'4" after 10 months. Likes: Mirko, his mother, reading, saving people, friends. Dislikes: Bakugou, rude, arrogant people, villains. Main weapon: ace. Personality: he has Roger's personality, so pretty carefree and always has a grin on him, but goes serious if needed too, but always wants to have fun. He also cares about people close to him deeply. Quirk: none. Powers: hockey, observation hockey, conqueror's hockey. Moveset: divine departure. Izuku swings the sword forwards to make a powerful slash attack. The split of the four C's. Izuku jumps in the air, swing his sword 2 times, making a plus sign and slashing towards an opponent. Fall of the plague. Izuku infuses his sword with hockey and stabs the floor with tremendous force, cracking everything around him. Unholy Strider. Izuku infuses the sword in hockey and runs towards the enemy and does 6 heavy slashes towards the opponent. Realm Defender. Izuku uses observation and armament hockey, ready his stance, and counters the incoming attack. Betrayal's Key. Izuku infuses his sword in hockey to the point where black and red lighting coming out from the sheer energy he's putting into it, and uses observation hockey to make his move. As Izuku stabs the sword at something or someone in front of him, creating a shock wave. Grand Cavalier. Izuku jumps back and reels his arm all the way back and then enhances his sword with Ryunod armament hockey, the other form of it, having black and red lighting coming out of it, and does a powerful vertical slash, making a huge shock wave of hockey come out of it. Advanced techniques. Punishment of a deity. Izuku covers his fist in hockey and then lets the inner flow of it go into the blade, making the blade having that aura around it, and then swings the sword, but not making contact with it, instead of let the hockey flow out of the sword and destroying the thing from the inside. He has to be close to the enemy. All for now. Physically, Izuku in this story will possess Roger's immense vitality and endurance too. But not Roger's prime vitality and endurance, he's 16, but it's enough to help him train a lot of hard and long to hone his skills. Background information. Gol.D Roger, the pirate king himself, getting executed in front of the huge crowd where one asked him, "Is the One Piece real?" One said, awaiting an answer. Roger smiled and said, "Of course the One Piece is real. If it's my treasure you want, you can have it. I left everything the world has to offer in that place." As when he finished that sentence, the crowd roared, as then Roger was then killed in front of everyone there, and there the new Prade era begins. As Roger was killed, he was then sent to another world known as the MHA universe, as we see Izuku Midoriya being born. Where am I? Roger saw that he's viewing the eyes of someone, as he is just a spirit in Izuku's head. Roger thought about everything that happens up to this point. Reincarnation maybe. Well, looks like I'm just a spirit in this boy's body. I guess I'll settle down for now. We skip to a few years in Izuku's life, and he was just told he was quirkless. Izuku is in a state of shock, his dreams of being a hero are crushed. Poor kid. Hopefully, his friend at school can comfort him about it, but that Bakugou kid got that praise he got in his head. Sigh. Roger just sat down in Izuku's mind thinking about his past life. A week goes by and Izuku went back to school, and people were wondering what his quirk was. As he told them his quirkless, everyone laughed. Even Bakugou started laughing. "Whoa Izuku, you're useless now, you're just a Deku now," as everyone pointed and laughed at Izuku, as Izuku with tears in his eyes. Roger saw everything and was enraged. He's supposed to be his friend. What an act of betrayal of friendship, just because he doesn't have this so-called quirk. If Whitebeard heard that, he'll teach him a lesson. That's it, I'm talking to this kid the next time he's going to sleep. After a painful day, Izuku returns home with tears and bruise marks. Inko was heartbroken when she was patching him up. Izuku then went up to his bedroom and just slept with tears in his eyes. He then opens his eyes and realized he's in a dream. Where am I? As he then sees a 9-foot-tall man with what seems to be pirate clothing walking towards him. Izuku was shocked at how tall he is and a bit frightened. "Who are you? Please don't hurt me." Deku covered his face. Roger just laughed and gave Izuku his usual grin. "I'm not going to hurt you, you see, you my reincarnation, and I saw everything that happened in that school, and I was angry, so I have an offer." Izuku uncovered his face and said, What is it?" "I'll train you, of course. Also, I'll give you a gift as well. You can become really strong with it, you just got to shake my hand." As Roger extends his arm and says, "Do you agree?" Izuku was shocked at the offer. He can become a hero. If what he says is true, he'll take it. "I accept your offer." Izuku shakes Roger's hand, as then it glows in a blinding light and it then fades. "There, you got my power and my physical strength as well from my world. I'll give you a quick rundown. You got all 3 types of hockey. I'll give you the first one, armament hockey. It basically likes one of those hardening quirks that you write in your quirk booklet." He continued, "You just to focus your spiritual energy through the part you want to harden. Use your spirit to become a hero and focus it on your arm." Izuku tries this, and after a few seconds, he was able to cover his fist with hockey. Izuku was shocked and happy that he finally has a so-called quirk. Looks like you're about to wake up, oh, and your gift is in your arms right now. As then Izuku wakes up and saw he has a blade and the sheath for it in his hands. Please don't bash me for it, I had no ideas for how he'll get ace. Izuku hides it for now and gets ready to go to school with a bit of confidence. Izuku enters the classroom and everything goes as normal until recess starts. Izuku was just playing when he saw Bakugou bullying a girl with his goons. Ah, what a useless quirk, you have the abilities of a rabbit, so what, you can jump higher. Bakugou keeps hitting the girl, bruising her. The girl had tears in her eyes. PP please leave me alone, the girl said, trying to block Bakugou's punches. Izuku seeing this was enraged, but he was raged. Roger realizes that he's going to unlock his third type early, he can feel it. He was running towards Bakugou, the flexed his arm and brings it back ready for a blow. Bakugou stops and looks at Izuku and laughs, you want some too, Deku, fine with me, as Bakugou runs towards Izuku with a small explosion in hand. As Izuku got closer, he unknowingly unleashes his Supreme King Haki and Bakugou felt it and were stunned a bit, about to fall to the ground. What the hell was th, as then Izuku infused his whole arm in weak but pretty strong from a 5-year-old Haki and punches Bakugou face first as Bakugou gets knocked out. His goons were shocked on what they saw and ran away with a bit of fear because they also felt that willpower. Izuku then comes to his senses and then walks to the girl. Hey, I'm sorry, Bakugou was bullying you, are you alright? Izuku said in a concerned tone. The girl looked up to Izuku and saw the soft smile he was giving, offering his hand. She blushed a little and said, yeah, just a bit bruised up, I'll be fine though. She gave a smile back. Izuku got a good look at her. Now she was a light brown skinned girl with snow white hair with rabbit eyes and gorgeous red eyes. Izuku blushed and said, that's great, I'll take you to the nurse. Izuku was about to lead the way when he was stopped by the girl. Be honest, do you think my quirk is useless and I can't become a hero? She said with a sad expression, looking down. Izuku just lifted her head and said in a soft tone, your quirk is what I think gives you the powers of a rabbit, you're already stronger with kicks, you can jump higher, you can run faster, if you train it enough you'll be a great hero. The girl was shocked that she never thought of those and she now got inspired by Izuku's words and would want to strive to be the best hero there is. Oh, my name is Izuku Midoriya, what's your name? Izuku asked. The girl looked at him and smiled, my name is Rumi Isagayama. Chapter 1. After Izuku took Mirko to the nurse's office, he told his teacher that he awakened his quirk. So when school was finished for the day, he told his mom about it and went to the quirk doctor again. They ran some tests and Izuku is still quirkless. But then he showed them the Haki and they were stunned, they might just think it was a glitch or something, so they put it on the record, calling it Haki. So now we're going to skip to where the story begins. Izuku was just minding his own thoughts until the teacher came in and told them they all went to the hero course. They all cheered until guess who? Bakugou stands up from his seat. Don't lump me with these wannabes, they'll be lucky to even be a sidekick for an unnamed hero. Of course, everyone was angry as Bakugou ignored them and said, I'll be starting my career of no low grade school, but I'll become richer and stronger than All Might. Everyone was muttering to one another that he does have the grades and power to do it, he has a shot. Then the teacher said, oh, Izuku Midoriya, you want to go to UA too? Note Izuku's hair is like Roger's. Everyone looked at Izuku. Izuku was built and really strong physically without Haki. Izuku noticing the eyes around him and just gave a grin. Better than All Might. You used to hurt people back then, you're chasing a dream. Izuku said, looking at Bakugou with a grin. Everyone was shocked on what he said and Bakugou snapped back at him. Shut up, Deku, you're below me. Bakugou getting ready to attack Izuku. Izuku just kept looking at Bakugou and still grinning. Ah, you're funny, says the one that got knocked out by my punch. Izuku then started laughing. The Bakugou then ran towards him. Izuku let out a small chuckle and infused his arm in Haki and taking the explosion in the palm, it did nothing to it. Bakugou, you're making yourself look like an idiot, sit down already. The teacher told them to knock it off and Bakugou sat down, still pissed off. The school day ends and Izuku was out of the school as he saw Mirko getting out herself. About time for a rabbit, you're pretty slow. Izuku said, laughing. Mirko got mad and kicked him into his gut, knocking the air out of him. Mirko said, laughing, and Mirko wins because someone was too full of himself. Izuku got up gasping for air. Damn it, ugh, whatever, I stayed to wait for you cause I got to get something, so I won't be walking with you today. Mirko pouted and said, oh, alright then, I'll see you later today then. As she waved and left. Izuku was going to the store to pick up something and decided to take a shortcut under a bridge when he felt something didn't feel right under here. I feel rumbling, it's very faint though. Izuku then turns his observation Haki on as his eyes were glowing red. He can sense something is coming up from the sewage line. Izuku looks down, right about now, as the top flies off, showing the sludge villain coming out of it. Oh, a grown man, your body is perfect. As he launches at Izuku. Izuku then infused his arm in Haki and punched the villain. Wait, what? How can you punch me? Think of the sludge villain as a Gol.D Roger told Izuku that Haki can allow to punch things, even if the user's power deflects blunt attacks. Izuku was looking at the villain with a grin. That's my quirk. As Izuku grabbed the villain by what he thinks is the head and smashing to a wall, making a good-sized crater, knocking out the sludge villain. Izuku then feels some else coming out and ready himself only to see All Might. I am he as All Might saw the villain knocked out. Sir, did you do this? All Might asked. Oh, I'm not an adult, I'm barely going to high school, and yes, I did this. All Might and Izuku talked and Izuku explained his quirk as he helped All Might with the villain and jumped out. Izuku went to the store, got the stuff for his mom, and was about to leave when he heard an explosion. What the hell was that? As Izuku ran towards the sound and he saw the sludge villain and Bakugou struggling to get out. Izuku was shocked and looked at the heroes and saw that they don't have the right quirk for this. Damn it, are they just going to let him die? Izuku then ran towards Bakugou and the sludge villain. But Izuku was angry at the villain and his veins from his forehead were appearing. The sludge villain looked towards Izuku and said, hey, you're the brat from earlier, just Liz. Then Izuku glared at him and unleashed his willpower towards him as the ground cracks and the walls also cracked. Bakugou, even feeling this fear. Izuku was glaring at the villain, if you want the hard way, fine with me, but you won't be alive after it. The villain out of fear released Bakugou and tried to make a break until Izuku enhances his movement with Haki and was in front of him almost like teleporting. As Izuku enhances his fist with Haki and had black and red lighting coming out of it as he then slammed his hand onto the villain, almost killing it as a huge shock wave shattering windows. As then when Izuku was finished he just gave his usual grin and walked past everyone just wanting to go home. All Might didn't make it in time to see what happened if you wonder that. As Izuku goes to his apartment just to see his mom and Mirko chatting. Inko shot up and said, oh hello Izuku, did you get the stuff I asked? Yeah, I did. Izuku said, setting it on the table, and went to his room and changed into his usual clothing. He went back down and saw Mirko there on the couch watching the news. Izuku went over there and asked her, what you looking at? Izuku said, just to see if anything interesting is on. Oh, I came here to ask you something. Izuku just looked at Mirko and said, whoa, are you asking me? Oh, as he then gets kicked in the face and flopped on the ground. Mirko was blushing a lot. Hell no, you idiot, sigh. I wanted to ask if we can train over the 10 months together. She said, a bit mad. Izuku then smiled at her, sure, I would love to. Mirko was happy that he agreed and got her stuff and said goodbye to Inko as she left it. Chapter 2, the 10-month training. After that Izuku went up to his room and grabbed his saber and walking downstairs covering it since he hasn't told Inko about it yet. I'm going to train now, Mirko is waiting for me. Alright then, be safe Izuku. Inko said, shutting the door behind him as Izuku walks towards the beach that has a lot of trash around it and already saw Mirko there shadow kickboxing. Damn you bucking that shadow up, Izuku said with a slight chuckle. Mirko just saw him and got into a fighting position. Whatever, I'm ready to spar, Mirko said. Izuku grinned and unsheathes his saber. Izuku then starts off by enhancing the blade with just Conqueror's Haki, letting out black and red lightning coming out of it. Izuku ready his stance and then says, Divine Departure as he launches his attack, letting out the Conqueror's Haki as a black stream with a red outline coming towards Mirko. Mirko jumps over it and runs towards Izuku at high speeds. Mirko jumped in the air, lifted her leg up in the air, and then comes crashing down towards Izuku. Luna fall as then Izuku then blocks it with his saber. The kick was strong enough to make a small aftershock, leaving Izuku in a small crater. Miro then jumps back as Izuku then actives his observation Haki and ran towards Mirko, and then Mirko launches a kick as Izuku swings his saber, as they both clashed. Mirko couldn't handle all the pressure and slipped up a bit as Izuku then does a roundhouse kick, and Mirko fell on the floor, with Izuku pointing his saber at her. Well, you need to work on blocking attacks easier, you lose your ground, it could kill you. Izuku offered his hand out as Mirko grabbed it and pulls her up. Damn it, mark my words Izuku, after the 10 months I'll be able to handle blows like that. This continuous cycle of sparring lasted about 10 months. Izuku has reached 6'4" in height and has gained a lot more muscle than before. His physical strength and agility have gotten up distractedly thanks to Roger's Internship. He advances his armament Haki and his observation Haki a lot. His swordsmanship has gotten better as well, being able to just fight with a saber with one hand with the strength he possesses over the 10 months. With Mirko, she is her max height already. I read that she 5'2". That shocked me. She is close to mastering hand-to-hand combat mostly with her legs and being flexible. She is able to do surprise attacks twisting and turning her body. Her strength and speed went up in order to keep up with Izuku's attacks, which helped Izuku with his observation Haki. So we now skip towards their last spar for now. They were doing hand-to-hand combat as Izuku had to use observation Haki to know where to block, so his eyes are glowing red most of the battle. Izuku coming in with a punch that connected as Mirko jumped back. Ah, that's all Izuku. as Mirko tries to roundhouse kick Izuku as he jumped and then punched Mirko straight in the face as Mirko falls on her back making Izuku the winner. Damn it sigh well I think we're done with sparring, for now, we just got to study for the test exam. Izuku said, oh right then I'll text you time to time then later. Izuku walks away. Izuku was walking home when he felt something off. Just an uneasy feeling. As he then saw a huge shock wave of wind coming his way. What the hell? As Izuku blocks the blast with his sword. As then a villain came out and said, you blocked my air cannon impressive I'll let you go if you give me those children behind the house wall over there. As you see two little kids coming out one boy one girl with tears in their eyes scared to shitless. Izuku saw them and was pissed off and said trying to shove the anger out his voice, what were you going to do with them? The villain laughed, to get rid of the evidence of course they just saw their parents getting killed so I have to get rid of them, that is if you get out of my way. Izuku walked up to the kids and said, knock on one of the homes get them to call the police, I promise you no one will get hurt. Izuku gave them a tender smile. The kid said, thank you mister, as they got run off to get help. The villain said, let hell I would let Izuku pulls out his saber and get ready to fight. You want to play that fine by me air cannon as a huge wave of wind coming at Izuku, almost like an all-might punch, but not to that degree. Izuku's eyes turn red and then puts his haki in his sword. He then swings his sword forward. Realm Defender as the wind attack Kaliad with the saber making a huge shock wave in the middle of the street. The people are now aware what's going on and call the police ahead of time, thanks to the kids. Izuku then smiles and said, my turn as he then infuses his sword in his Conqueror haki, making it radiate black lighting out of it. Izuku then said, divine departure launching a huge wave of a haki infused slash coming towards him. The villain took it head on which was a mistake as he then got onto one knee. What the hell? I thought you were some brat the villain said with pain in his voice. Izuku gave a grin and said, really now? I thought you were a villain, but you're a thug at most. Damn you as the villain out of rage launched a full-scaled air cannon. Izuku saw it was a condensed attack attacking it back will launch it everywhere. Izuku then crossed his arm and turned it into haki as he was pushed back far as he hit back first to a car behind him. Izuku got up since his pain tolerance is quite high, thanks to Mirko's strong ass kicks. Izuku was about to attack as the pro heroes arrived and the police and arrested the villain. Izuku got up as the officer said, so you were the one holding off the villain. I must say thank you, but I have to give you a warning of fighting him since you're not a hero. As the officer just walks away. So I can't catch a break well time to go home it's late and I need energy tomorrow for studying. Chapter 3 UA exams. As we now skip towards the UA exams. Izuku gets up and grabs his saber as he walks to school. When he gets there he gets greeted by Mirko already there waiting for him. Why did you take so long? Mirko asked annoyed. Izuku just smiled and said, would you take the answer I was walking and being lazy. Mirko sighed and just said, let's just go already. As they went in the writing exam room took it and now we go to the start of the fighting part of the exams. Izuku and Mirko are walking up to the gate as Izuku is just grinning eagerly to start already. As then present Mick just said go there are no timers in a real battle. As Izuku ran using haki to slay a bunch of robots in his path and gathered 70 points in total. As time went on Izuku was breezing through all the robots as then he feels rumbling as he then looks up and sees the huge 0-pointer. Everyone was running away and Izuku was thinking it was just a waste of time, but then he heard a scream for help. He looked over to see a girl trapped under parts of a building and it was in the way of the robot's path. Izuku wasted no time and ran towards the girl getting the parts off her, but it was a little too late as the robot launches a fist towards the two. Izuku was grinning wildly as he then leaps in the air using haki. As then he pulls out his saber that was covered in black and red lightning. Izuku then actives his observation haki as he brings his blade back saying, Spilt of the Four Seas he launches two huge haki-infused slashes towards the robot, spilting the robot into 4 parts. As then the aftershock hits the rest of the field buildings that were near Izuku collapsed as the ground crumbles. The staff that was watching in sidelines felt the wave as well. Izuku then just falls down making a huge crater around him as he just gets up as nothing happened. Izuku just laughs, I thought it was going to be tougher, but I managed. As Izuku walks to the shelter for the injured at one side of the field as he sees cement toss in front of out of breath. Izuku was confused as then Mirko runs towards Izuku and does a direct kick towards Izuku's face, sending him flying to a wall. You dumbus you overdid it you wore out cement toss since Hess walls kept on getting destroyed from the aftershock Mirko yelled out with a tick on her head. Izuku just got out of the hole and said, ha I didn't infuse my slash with armament only conquerors. Izuku just laughed a bit and rubs his cheek, damn did you have to give me a kick that hard? Mirko said, I had to stop you from getting into the fights and using your second move. I know you just wanted to test other moves, but Divine Departure is your weakest out of the 7, and that move is the second one, but still, your first move is already strong enough. Izuku just sighed, Finii. Izuku just walks off with Mirko gaining up to him. As Izuku and Mirko were walking, Izuku wanted to tease her to get back at her. "So you got a boyfriend yet?" Izuku said. Mirko was drinking water as he choked on it and blushed. Huh? No, I don't have one. Izuku just said, makes sense, who would want a girl that would most likely be the dominate one in bed. Mirko punched Izuku in the shoulder and just said, "Oh, shut up, it's their fault for getting dominated by a girl." Izuku chuckles a bit, "I guess you're right about that. I mean, I would want a boyfriend that's smart, really strong, can have a sense of humor, and I don't mind if they had Dumbus or no." Mirko just stopped and her head started to steam as she just said all the traits of Izuku. Mirko slowly started to turn her head, Izuku but she just sees Izuku in front of the glass in the toy store. The new limited edition All Might poster is coming out on Sunday, got to write that down. Mirko just looked blankly at Izuku and in her head, why does that piss me off? Izuku then walked towards Mirko. Mirko? Are you okay? Mirko just gave a creepy smile towards Izuku and said, "Couldn't be better, now let's go." Izuku just said in his mind, what a strange petite girl, wait, did I just say petite? What is wrong with me? I'll just put that off. As they just continued to walk. Chapter 4 UA. Izuku was now waiting on his letter if he got to UA or not. A week later, Izuku was just lifting weights in his room until his mom burst into the room and said, "Izuku, it's here." Izuku smiled and got the mail and ripped it open to see a disc as a hologram popped out showing All Might. Izuku Midori, a great job in the exams, you got 84 robot points and 40 rescue points with a total of 124 points. You have been accepted to UA. Izuku, welcome to your hero academia, as the hologram cut off as Izuku smiled. So in a few weeks from now, I'll start my year in UA. Well, I better get to training. A few weeks from now, Izuku woke up and saw it time to go to UA. He got his uniform on, but didn't wear the top of the uniform, he just wore it around him like a cape and rolled up his sleeves. Perfect. As he walks to UA. Izuku gets there and walks into the school and tries to find 1A. A little time passed as he finds it and was in to see Bakugou getting yelled at by Idea. Izuku just ignored it as he was about to walk out when he felt a punch on the back. What the F, as he sees Mirko there laughing. "You know what, I'd rather go to 1B than deal with your ass for the whole day." What's that supposed to mean?" Mirko said with a tick on her head. Izuku chuckled a bit, "I'm only joking, Mirko, let's just sit down." As Miro and Izuku sit down next to each other and talk for the whole time in homeroom. As then Izawa just came out of the sleeping bag and told them to change and to meet outside on the field. As Izuku was changing, Kikushima saw his build and a bruise mark on his back. "Yo bro, nice build also, what's with your back?" Izuku just said, "Let's just say a little rabbit bit me." As everyone walked to the field, they went to the ball throw area and then Izawa said, "This is the ball throw, it's like that you did in middle school, but this one you use your quirk." "You, loud child, what was your score at middle school?" As he points to Izuku. 256.7 meters. Izawa was a bit thrown off by that number, but shook it off and said, "Do it again, but with your quirk." Izuku gets up there and gets the ball and readies himself. He readies himself for the pitch as black and red lighting started to form. The ground was beginning to crack a little because of it and even started to shift a little. Izuku then smiled and said, "Arm style," as then the ground started to shake as the lighting become wilder. Izuku steps forward, breaking the floor as he says, "Grand Cavalier," as he launches the ball, creating a medium-sized shock wave around him as the ball soars through the sky. Everything started to break around him. Shocking everyone except Mirko, she just smiles. Izawa then looked down and saw the number in shock. 37,490 meters, about 122,998 feet. Everyone was shocked to hear that number. Izuku just smiles and turns back to everyone. "That's what training gets ya." As Izuku goes back in line. Izuku crushed the grip test and with the side steps as well, Izuku got first place in speed, followed by Mirko. Izuku got second in ball throw because of Uraraka getting infinite. But I'm changing it a little and have hand-to-hand combat. Izuku and Mirko, good luck. Izawa said as Izuku turns on observation hockey and Mirko fighting. Izuku then got a direct hit when Mirko was about to twist her body and then pinned her, claiming the victory. Ugh, whatever, I could have won. As when they both stood up they were side by side and everyone saw their height difference. Mirko was a little under the shoulder height of Izuku. While Mirko is a slim curvy figure, Izuku has a bulk figure but still quite lean. As the day went by they saw them always fighting with each other. Izuku was yelling at Mirko during lunchtime, "For the last bucking time Mirko, you don't put milk before cereal." "How long does it take you to put milk back in the freezer? Like a few seconds, it won't get soggy," Izuku yelled. "Are you bucking mental?" Izuku yelled. "OMG, you want to fight about this too?" Everyone in class 1 was dumbfounded. Who knew the top students would fight a lot? Izawa was peeking in through to the teacher's lounge. "So they're problematic and loud, this is going to be the troublesome year. Heroes versus villains." After that whole predicament happened everything was normal for the first few weeks of school. Izuku and Mirko fighting a lot and even physical clashes sometimes, you know the usual. Now we go to the hero versus villains. Everyone was chatting before class starts. Until Izawa came in it grew silent and Izawa spoke. "Alright everyone, we will be having a special training session and it's going to be supervised by." As he got cut off then All Might burst into the room. That whole thing happens and All Might explains the hero versus villains and they get to try out their whole costumes. Note Izuku turned in his sword during the first weeks of school, saying he uses one as a weapon and for training, so now he can't stop hiding it from his mom. Everyone was excited and went and got their cases with their costumes and went to change. Izuku's costume will be different. He is inspired by Roger's wear when he first saw him and just went with that look. Here's a picture. Without the hat, Izuku went with this look and I don't want to modernize it, it looks badass. Izuku came out and everyone saw and really like his fit. It looks good on him. Yes, he keeps the coat around him as well. As then Mirko walked it with her costume. When Izuku saw it he burst out laughing. "You look like you about to attend swimming lessons with that," Izuku said laughing. Mirko had a vein popping out. "You're dressed like a pirate at Isn't Halloween." Mirko yelled back, "You want to say that again?" While Izuku and Mirko were yelling at each other, All Might got the rest of the class together and said, "Do they also fight?" Mineta said, "Yeah, mostly at lunchtime and after school." After all that happened, All Might got the lesson ready and the first time is the same as in the canon. Izuku and Uraraka were walking up. "Do you have a play, Izuku?" Uraraka asked. "Yeah." As then Izuku actives his observation. As out of nowhere Bakugou came out nowhere shooting an explosion towards Izuku. Izuku manga to block it with hockey. As then Bakugou flipped back and said, "I can finally do this." As Bakugou pulls the 2 pins from his gauntlets. "Shut up, All Might." As the gauntlets finished charging and then Bakugou fired it towards Izuku. All Might and the rest ran out Thyre, Mirko being the one to get out Thyre the quickest, scared to hell. "Izuku!" Mirko cried out. As the smoke cleared they see Izuku covered in aram and hockey, tanking most of the blow with just a few screeches and Hess has Bakugou on his back knocked out from serve blood loss. The medical team got out there and got Kagu to the ER. As then Izuku just smiled. "Ain't no need to cry, I'm supposed to be the one crying in pain right now," Izuku said chuckling a bit. Mirko ran towards Izuku hugging and softly punching him with tears straighting to wallow up in her eyes. "Idiot, you could have died and it's a bad time for joking. You're calling me weak? Think I can't tank a blow from that living time bomb?" Izuku then said in a comforting tone, "Jokes aside, I'm alright, okay? No need to waste tears. A hero is going to get hurt. I signed up for this. Sure, I may not be a hero now, but it's going to happen. Don't worry, I'm still on this world, so don't worry, I'm still not going to leave your side. You better making me worry like that." "Your son is going to get expelled," as he was about to endanger the life of another student. Izuku walks in and says, "Whoa, calm down, his quirk is too weak to endanger my life," Izuku said smiling. "Ah, Izuku, but he did try to kill you, right?" Nezu said awaiting an answer. "Yeah, tired, he had those gauntlets and still couldn't give me a severe wound," Izuku said chuckling a bit. Izuku continued, "Don't be that hard on him, give him a suspension. For the most part he doesn't have the power to kill me." "Are you sure?" Nezu said. "He wants to become a great hero, for one little incident like that I can forgive." Bakugou's mom was in tears. "Thank you, Izuku, even if he tried to kill you, huh? I don't even count him as a threat for the #1 spot. He needs be a man and face me with raw power," Izuku said, lowing a bit and walking out. Nezu then sighed and said, "Even after he tried to kill him, still carefree and willing to forgive." "Well, you heard what he said, I'm giving him one more chance." Izuku was walking in the hallway still not wearing his top for the uniform cause he too good for that. He then goes on the field and sees Mirko shadowboxing again. This is free time BTW. Am you bucking that shadow up? Izuku said giggling a bit. Mirko without even looking said, yeah I'm picturing it to be you. She said in a blunt tone. Like if that would actually happen. Izuku said grinding. Mirko then looked at Izuku. What? You think I didn't get better? Izuku then activated his observation haki and said, maybe. As then they begin to fight. About midway Izuku said, so were you actually picturing me fighting you? Mirko without thinking said, no I was just shadowboxing, I was thinking about confessing my love for Yo as then Mirko caught herself she was blushing. Your love for what? Izuku said getting closer to her. My love for. USJ. I like Mirko was blushing hard now trying to figure out what to say. Izuku was just waiting confused on why she is stuttering. Shadowboxing I like fighting myself she said trying to force out a proud tone. Izuku then just laughs, Jesus women get a mirror if you like yourself so much. Mirko nervously laughs it off as then Izuku parted ways with her as she just there standing. So we now skip towards the field trip for the USJ, Aizawa explains that it's for training and he, 13, and All Might are going to be there helping you. After he explains everything they get themselves on the bus and head out to the USJ. In the bus, Izuku and Mirko sat next to each other playing a game Flappy Hawk to see who gets the highest score. It turns out Izuku won with 55. That bucked Mirko Izuku said snickering. Mirko flips him off, eat a hick Izuku, I'll win next time. For the next 30 mins, Mirko got her ass handed to 25 times and to Izuku only 2. Mirko lost the 25th time he just puts her phone away and pouts, dumb game you cheated. Izuku just gave her a hat pat and said, get good then. Mirko was going to yell at him, but Aizawa is right there eyeing them. Shut up as Mirko just goes on Herogram see what's on there. The bus makes it to the USJ as everyone went and changed to their hero costume and met up on the stage. 13 then comes out and explains the whole USJ thing as then Kirishima then pointed out about a portal forming and villains coming out. Izuku was amazed, whoa even fake villains this place is the best. Aizawa then said, no, those are real everyone stand back as then Izuku rushed in and said sorry Mr. Aizawa I don't want you to get hurt as then Izuku was in the middle of the USJ he was smiling. So these are real villains huh? Well now as Izuku unsheathes his sword. Show me a fight as then he ran towards the villains and was kicking everybody's ass. He was quick and strong, all the villains were getting cut down one by one. The Mura was there and said, damn it damn brat tch I guess I'll release it early. As then a portal opened up revealing the Nomu. As Izuku saw it. What the hell is that Izuku said. The Mura smirked, this is called a Nomu and it was made to kill All Might, but I count you as a threat too so Nomu kill him as then the Nomu rushed towards Izuku. Izuku gets ready to block the blow but underestimates the strength of it and when it hit the sword, Izuku was sent flying back to a wall. Mirko saw what happened and was angered, bastard you'll pay as Mirko rushed the Nomu trying to get in hand-to-hand combat with it. No Mirko don't Izuku tried to get up but more powerful villains started to come out and blocked his way. Mirko was going to hand-to-hand combat but it was a bad idea it was faster and got a blow on Mirko's shoulder as then Mirko got sloppy from her movement and then the Nomu grabbed her waist and then thrown her to a wall. Nomu kill her as then Nomu went rushing towards Mirko. Mirko couldn't stand up she was too badly hurt, her pain tolerance reached its limit. Mirko closed her eyes. Help me Izuku please Mirko was in tears she was going to die here. Aizawa couldn't make it in time to try and help. She braced herself with impact. As then she heard running as she opened her eyes. She sees Izuku punching the Nomu infused with haki and sent him flying. Izuku was not smiling he was pissed off, well pissed is an understatement. He grabbed Mirko and put her up on the steps and made her sit there as Aizawa was up there too. Izuku, Mirko said. Izuku just looked down and then placed his coat around her. Aizawa, take care of her. As then Izuku walked to the middle he clenched his fist. As then more villains come out and try to stop him. Izuku then yelled, get the buck out of my way as then he infused his saber in haki and then said, fall of the plague and he smashing to the ground as the whole ground shaken as then a huge shockwave came out of it shifting the ground or breaking it. Izuku sees the Nomu in front of him. The Mura laughed and said, oh a big shot huh? Oh, do you want to get revenge does your friend matter that much to you? Izuku had veins popping out of his forehead as the ground started to shake violently. Anyone who hurts people dear to me will pay I'll destroy a whole city if I have to or this damn USJ I don't care, that Nomu is going to die. That Nomu was made of all might you think you can take it on? Izuku said nothing as he then unsheaths his saber, but when he was taking it out the ground was shaking, even more, everything began to crack and crumble to the ground. As when he took out the saber it was covered in black and red lighting and was covered by haki. Izuku turned on his observation haki as well. As he got both of his hands on the blade as he went and stepped forward making a small shockwave was formed. Izuku then said, divine departure as he then launches his attack at full power. The slash was huge, Tamura was shocked and then was warped out of there as then it made contact to the Nomu. As then a ginormous shock wave arose as the Nomu was sent flying the whole roof and part of the USJ was gone. Everyone was shocked. Mirko was shocked that was a full-powered move. Izuku then looked at where the Nomu flew out from. Looks like it's coming back for another round, it was made for All Might. As he then sees the Nomu making a huge leap, it had a huge gash wound across his chest. It was so powerful it overrides the absorption quirk and couldn't numbify it all the way. Izuku then looks up and sees a fist coming towards him. Izuku then gets in a stance and takes a step forward and then swinged his blade at him saying, Realm Defender as they both clashed as it made a huge shockwave. The other half of the USJ was barely holding on. Izuku was holding his ground. I am not going to let you hurt the rest here. I will go beyond for them, especially for Mirko. You hurt her, and now I will defeat you with my on blade even if we collapse this whole USJ. USJ Part 2. Realm Defender. As then the USJ couldn't hold in the sheer shock wave and it blows up. Izawa then got the class and said, everyone gets out of here, Izuku is taking this fight on. Everyone left the building and then Mirko was helped out by Tsui and sat on a bench outside clenching the coat cape. Please be alright, Izuku. Mirko muttered under her breath hoping for the best. Izuku was now clashing with the Nomu. Izuku wasn't going to give up here. If he was going to go down, he'll make sure that thing will go with it. He has some quirks to match All Might and shock absorbing is one of them and regen him. How can I fight this? Izuku then got an idea and then focus on the Nomu's head. The Nomu blocked it and uses a lot of force to push the blade out the way. So the brain is the weakness, huh? Glad I found that out because the pain and exhaustion are getting to me. Izuku chuckles a bit and then looks at the Nomu. It's having trouble with the regen since the haki numbs it a little. Izuku then starts to walk to it with his blade pointing forward as then haki streams through the blade. As then Izuku leaps in the air now grabbing the blade with two hands, then dives down to the Nomu. Izuku as he got closer now uses observation haki as then he lifts it up in the air and then aims at the brain. The Nomu puts his arms in front of its head. As then Izuku said. Betrayal's key as then the saber went through the arms into the brain and then the aftershock came making shock wave around Izuku. The wind almost looked like a tornado but a small one. As the Nomu drops dead in the center of what used to be the USJ. As then after a few secs, the pro heroes rushed in and then saw Izuku pointing his blade at them. Huff puff, you're bucking late, Huff, you know that. As then Izuku collapses as well. Hospital. Izuku woke up in a hospital room as he sees his blade is in the corner. Did I win? He wondered to himself. The door then unlocked and out comes Mirko depressed as hell with her ears down. Izuku then smiles. What? Did your parents not feed you carrots? As then Izuku laughed and then clutched his side said, Buck, that hurts. Mirko then ran to Izuku with tears in his eyes and hugs him tightly on the side. That's not bucked. I'm so weak, you had to fight him alone. I couldn't do anything. Mirko cries on his shoulder. Izuku just pats her on her head. You're crying like if I died or something. I die when I want to die. Mirko just looks up at Izuku and then just leans in towards him. As when she was about to make her move. Boom, out comes the rest of the class wondering if Izuku is alright. Mirko was angry, embarrassed all at the same time. I was about to make my move, damn it, well, I could always try another time. As then the class left the room suddenly, which confused Mirko as then Izuku motioned her to come. The skit. Lunchtime 12:30 p.m. Mirko slammed her fist on the table. Look Izuku, you're my best friend and all but you're really bucking stupid, you know that. Deku fired back, who the buck you calling stupid? Yoga isn't just standing with a pose. Well yeah, but it's for the mind and body to calm down. You should bucking try that once in a while, Izuku said. Bitch, I'm the calmest person here. That live grenade with the spiked hair needs to calm down. Bakugou yelled back, the buck you say to me. Shut the buck up Bakugou, don't get in between this, Mirko yelled back. You're yelling right now, you ain't the bucking calmest. That's like saying Mineta isn't a pervert, not even bucking close. What you want to throw down? Mirko yelled. Bring it on, I'll toss your ass like a salad. Wait, was that a hex joke? Again VM, bring it on, maybe I'll beat it into you. That yoga is just a creative pose. Maybe I'm not fond of hitting a woman. Oh, I'll do this. Izuku then slapped Mirko's ass. The teachers didn't see as Mirko just blushed hard at this. I'd felt like it would get you to stop screaming. It didn't work. Izuku said. As then Mina yelled, hey Izuku, Mirko is a hot dog, a sandwich. Izuku and Mirko both said yes no at the same time. Izuku no, Mirko yes. They both locking eyes at each other. Are you mental? It's a hot dog. It has a bun though, so it's a sandwich. As of now, they were fighting about this. Izawa was in the teacher's lounge pissed off. Here we go again. Introduction to SF. It's been a while, let's see if I still got it lol. After Izuku was admitted out of the hospital, Mirko and Izuku were walking together to Izuku's house. Mirko then started off the conversation. Izuku, I was weak, I couldn't do anything. Mirko's voice started to shudder a bit. Why you could have died to him, I couldn't live with that at all, I was still alive, I could have done something, but I was weak, I couldn't do anything, I dot. Izuku then flicked Mirko's forehead. As he then smiled and said, are you sure you're the same Mirko before the USJ? Last I remember was a very prideful and confident woman who wasn't afraid of anything. You gave it your all, you know. Try to use that mindset and focus on getting stronger. Mirko was then enlightening by Izuku and should really take his words to heart, but she still feels that lingering feeling of weakness, but it was snapped when he said, or you could just admit that I win overall and our rivalry makes it easier, Izuku said with a smug look on his face. Mirko then punches Izuku on the side with a tick mark, not in a million years. Izuku then clutches his side on, falls to the ground. I'm so sorry, I didn't know, as then Izuku smiled and flicked her forehead again. Mirko gets pissed off and starts running after him. The day after, Izuku was walking to school with nothing much on his mind. He heard that there was a huge event coming on, and he is excited. Oh no, what it is. After Izuku enters the school, he gets to his class and sits down. Sooner or later Mirko comes in and sits down next to him. Hey Izuku, have you ever thought of who invented numbers? Mirko asked. I have no fucking clue. Izuku answered. A few minutes later Aizawa came in with some news about the sports festival and to give it your all. After that was finished, Izuku opened the door to leave, as then a huge crowd was around the door. Oh, Mirko, you got fans, Izuku said laughing. Mirko punched Deku on the side. They're not fans, idiot. Shinsu spoke up about one of the students is going to lose their spots in the sports festival. Izuku then smiled at Shinsu. Is that so? I'd like to see you try if you're so bold about it. Izuku said with full confidence as he then moved everyone away from the door and he and Mirko left. I've never seen you like that, Izuku. Something wrong? Mirko said. Nah, I'm just pumped up for this, I know we can do this, no problem. Mirko snickered a bit. So they went on their classes like normal. After school Izuku saw Mirko there talking to one of the boys in 1B. Oh? Is this boy the chosen one for her? Boy, is he gonna be in hell if he gets with her. Izuku laughed to himself as Mirko and the boy left and Mirko walked up to Izuku. Finally found yourself a boyfriend? I never thought you could get one. Izuku chuckled a bit. Shut the buck up, Izuku, it wasn't anything important, now let's just go. I got carrots here, you're not the same without them. Mirko just looked at him with a tick on her head. Izuku just laughed. Sports Festival Part 1. Izuku was walking to school knowing the sports festival was today. He was smiling all the way to school. Mirko was there waiting for him at the front. Took you long enough. Waiting out here like an idiot. Mirko said as Izuku chuckled a bit. Well, I was hyping myself up in the mirror for the festival. They both laughed and went on their merry way to the festival. The waiting room, Mirko and Izuku were there doing buck haul as then something unexpected happened. Midnight showed up and asked for Izuku, a bit confused, but went anyway, as then Midnight said these words. Midoriya, we got tons of confessions from the villains from the USJ, and they all said you fought the Nomu alone. She said. Izuku said, yeah, that's correct. As then Midnight said, hate to do this to you, but I'm afraid you have to be handicapped for the festival based on the witnesses from the attack. You're a very strong boy, to say the least. Everyone was shocked at what she said as Mirko said, wait, that's not fair, he shouldn't have to be, as then Izuku put his hand in front of her. Midnight smirked a bit as then she put weights on Izuku as Izuku kneeled down a bit from the weight being put on him. Also no saber as well, good luck as she walks out with the blade from the hall, she said. Shit, this sword is heavy. Mirko went up to Izuku. Everything alright, Izuku? She said. Izuku looks towards her. Of course, this just means they know I can do this, no sweat. As they walk out to the field in Class B as well. Izuku was then called up. As he walked up a step, at the last step it cracked a bit. As he walked up, he smirked and said, we should give it our all in this fight, no matter the quirk, no matter the experience in real combat, having fun is the most important in this. I really don't care if I win or lose, this is going to be a great show. The crowd roared with excitement, eager to see the match. The run. As everyone is lined up getting ready, Izuku was just standing there smiling. As the countdown was happening, his eyes flashed red as he puts hockey in his legs. As the race starts, Izuku passed through everyone. The only one who was beating him was Mirko. He sees Bakugou and Todoroki behind him. He passed through everything as now it was a canyon part of the race. As he leaps in the air and comes down on the other side, leaving a creator behind. He sees the mines now as he jumped through that, also getting first place. Followed by Mirko. Izuku was breathing heavily, underestimating the weights a lot. But maybe I shouldn't have overdone it like that. As then Mirko slapped Izuku's back. Ow, what the buck? Mirko was laughing. I have never seen you so out of breath. Izuku fired back and said, don't you got a carrot to sallow? Huh? Mirko said with a tick on her head. Don't you got to give your tribute to our all might shrine? Izuku started to get a tick as well. Go shove a celery stick up your ass. Go suck off your blow up All Might doll. They started to butt heads, now gritting their teeth. Everyone else saw this and thought, aren't they like best friends? Mina then said, I ship them. As we move on the cavalry battles. As Izuku has the 10 million points band, or was it 1 million? Izuku had to be by himself this round, but he was allowed for his weights to be off this round. Midnight then said, begin, as everyone went for Izuku. Izuku smiled and then said, why don't you fall to the king? As he then activated Conqueror Haki. To his surprise, a lot of the teams did fall, only some managed to get through it. He looked back to see most of the crowd was knocked out. Oops, I may have overdone it. As then Manama races up to him. That's a nice quirk, let me use it. As he touches Izuku. Izuku just smiled. So I'm guessing you have a copy quirk, so let's see who Haki is stronger, as Izuku infuses his arm in Haki. As then Manama tried to use it but no luck. What, it's blank. As then Izuku then said, taking a step forward in front of the team. Arm style divine departure, as he launches his arm and hits the whole team, sending them to a wall, crashing through it, making a huge hole. Tetsu and Kirishima saw that they really wanted Izuku to teach them how to make their quirks as strong as that. They think it's a hardened quirk, which in a way it is, and I'll have a chapter where Izuku helps them out. All the other teams were shocked to see that monstrous power. Izuku then looked to the other teams and said, so which one is next? As then Mirko's team came out of nowhere and tried to snatch Izuku's headband. And if you're wondering what the team is, it's Izuku's team minus Izuku, of course. Izuku smiled and said, well, now that's unfair. Can't just come out of nowhere. Izuku coats his arm in Haki, as then Mirko said, Hatsum, now with help with Uraka they're now in the air dodging the attack. Izuku then let out a small chuckle, I can do that to you know. He then actives both types of Haki, races up to the sky in a split second. Arm style fall of the plague, as then he launches his arm down to the team as it came crashing down with a shit ton of force. Izuku then came down, deactivating his Haki. Well, now looks like I'm good now. As everything went to can and everyone grabbing other team's points and whatnot. Bakugou and Shoto didn't go for him at all, they want to save their energy when they face him. Izuku won at the end as he went to the waiting room. He smiled widely, it's the 1v1 next, right? I wonder who am I going to face? Sports Festival Part 2. The 1v1 is next, as everyone is in the waiting room waiting to be called. As Izuku and Mirko are both chatting with each other. So Izuku, how's the handicap going? Think you're going to last? Mirko snickered a bit. As Izuku smiled at Mirko as he said, nah, don't feel like going last, I'm shooting for first. Mirko laughed at this comment, well, you're going to have to pull through till the end. Then they both laugh a bit as then Ijiro came up to Izuku, you up against Shinso, I wouldn't answer his questions, they brainwash you. Izuku takes this to account and thanks Ijiro as he walks the arena smiling proudly as Shinso also walks up as the fight began. You must feel special having to have a handicap because you're too strong, feels good to be blessed with a quirk, Shinso said as Izuku walks slowly towards him. Shinso takes a step back a bit, why aren't you saying anything, think you're too good to speak to someone as low as me. Izuku ignores him as he covered his arm in Haki. Shinso started to yell at him. Damn it, who told you about my quirk? Must be Ijiro. Who told you my damn weakness? Shinso starts to sweat a little, taking more steps back. You will never relate to what I've been through, you got blessed with a strength you can never. As Shinso, as at the boundary line, Izuku just starts at him as his Haki start to emit sparks of lightning. When he got close he deactivates it last second and pushes Shinso out. As Izuku spoke, you have a negative image on your quirk. I have never been blessed, I had to work my ass off to get where I'm at. Do you think this power comes from the heavens? Maybe Bakugou's, but I had to work to get where I'm at. There is always a use for a quirk like yours, for example, it's powerful, but a huge drawback, focus on that, I swear you'll be a great hero. As Izuku walks out of the arena to the waiting room and watches. A few matches later he sees Mirko is up against Bakugou. This might be interesting if she wins, maybe I'll take her out to eat if she beats him. A few minutes in then Izuku see that Mirko is losing. She got a few good hits, but Bakugou's explosion really limit her range, and since she has to go near him to hit him it's even worse. As then Mirko got an explosion head on and was launched out of the arena. Izuku was surprised to see her lose and went to see her in the nurse's office. Izuku enters the office and sees a sad Mirko with her lower chest and some of her arms bandaged up. What's wrong, Mirko? You lost one and you gave up hope? Mirko looks over to Izuku and smiles a bit, I guess I underestimated him, hehe, promise me you'll win, okay? Izuku smiles and says, alright, if I win this I'll take us out for lunch. Mirko laughs a bit and says, fine, but I'm choosing. They both had a laugh as Izuku walks out with a huge smile on his face. Don't worry, as then one of his eyes turns red, a second, I'll win. The rest of the matches goes the same as then we to Izuku versus Shoto as they meet up in the arena. As then it begins. Todoroki goes with a huge iceberg as Izuku smiles and conjures Haki into both arms. Arm style unholy strider as Izuku blitz through the ice in 6 quick blows which shock the crowd and Todoroki. As Izuku deactivates it and looks up and laughs a bit, "You're just using ice, any more of this and I'll for sure have an easy victory." Todoroki gets pissed off from this, thinking he just wants him to use his fire side. "Tch, alright, you asked for it." As Shoto conjures a huge iceberg towards Izuku, one of the sizes of the stadium. Izuku knows that he can break it fairly easily, that the impact would throw the shards everywhere. As then Izuku then holds his right arm out, all the cameras are on his present mic and Izawa are wondering what he's going to do. As then they see an aura around Izuku's arm as the ice is approaching him at record speeds, as Izuku says, "Arm style Ryu form, calm winds of the east." As when the ice got inches near Izuku's arm, it stops as the arena, even Shoto was confused, as then the ice began to collapse on itself as Shoto was dodging the debris falling down as the smokes clear, and it shows Izuku with a smirk on his face as he says, "As I said, it's not going to work. But if you're willing to suppress yourself so willingly, I'll make sure to take advantage." As Izuku blitzed towards Shoto faster than he can react, as Izuku punches Shoto right in the gut, as this made a shockwave as Shoto spits blood as he flies back, but then uses his ice to freeze himself just before going out of bounds. Izuku smiles and says, "Not finished, huh? Why don't you impress your old man? You have a fire quirk, refusing to use it to me, you're just suppressing your own strength for a petty reason." However, as Izuku flexes his arm as Haki begins to coat the arm as the dark red sparks start to come around it, "If you keep this up, I'll win with this next attack." Shoto scoffs and looks at this father woes viewing in the stands and then has a thought, "I'm not doing this to impress you. I'm doing this because Izuku has a point, he's crazy strong, no way stronger, he's handicapped and still winning, I'm using it to win." As Shoto erupts into flames with a smile on his face as the crowd goes wild. Izuku grins widely, here it comes, as Izuku reels his arm back as Shoto is getting prepared to go all out in this one move. As then Shoto releases a wall of fire towards Izuku. As Izuku readies his ground, taking a step forward and says, "Arm style grand Pavlier," as massive wind pressure released from the pure Haki put into it as it clashes his Shoto's flame. It was going crazy, as then in a few seconds it disappeared as Izuku was right in front of Shoto as he punches him out of the ring, declaring Izuku the winner of this battle. Izuku goes back to his waiting room and sees Mirko there with a smile on her face. "One more match, huh? Aren't you amazing, Izuku?" Izuku laughs a bit, "Yeah, but the weights are starting to get to me, but I'll manage." Mirko laughs softly and says, "Give him hell, Izuku, I'll be watching." Izuku then said, "Yeah, I'll make sure too." As then after a break the final match begins. Izuku and Bakugou face each other. Bakugou smirk a bit, "I've been waiting for this, Deku, I've gotten stronger than last time." Izuku says, "Well, best make sure to not pull any cheap tricks again for a quick win." As the match begins, as Bakugou goes on the offensive with a direct explosion towards Izuku, Izuku is much faster, outpacing him even with weights, as Izuku goes for a right hook towards Bakugou, as Bakugou got hit as he falls to the ground, but soon recovers. As Bakugou gets ready and says, "I'll end this match quickly with my final move," as Bakugou launches himself towards Izuku as he then ignites his hands, aiming for the upper body of Izuku. Izuku was kind of surprised to see an attack this close as he braced for impact, crossing his arms in front of his face. As Bakugou yelled, "Howitzer impact," as a huge explosion emerged to cover the other side of the arena. Bakugou then fell to the ground exhausted since he put everything he got to that move. "So, you did get stronger," as Bakugou was shocked, and so was the crowd as the smokes clear as Izuku was shown the upper half of his uniform has completely burnt off as his whole upper half was covered in armament Haki. As Izuku puts his arms down as he focuses the Haki to his arms, "I'm afraid it's still not enough," as Izuku blitzed towards Bakugou as Bakugou couldn't move out of the way as he then focused Haki to his right leg and roundhouse kick him to the wall, ending the match. As Midnight came to the arena and said, "The winner of this sports festival is Izuku Midoriya," as the crowd goes wild with a cheer. Izuku goes to the stands for a bit and sees Mirko. "I won, Mirko." Mirko laughs, "Yeah, you did." As Izuku gets called to the podium as Mirko sees him getting the first place medal as a blush forms around her face. "He may be an idiot, but he's the idiot I want to be near with," she said in her head. The Gang Orca arc. A week after the sports festival, Izuku got ready for school as he was sitting on his bed and looked over to his shelf and sees the gold medal on there and smiled, "Damn, even with restraints I still managed, thanks. Roger couldn't have gotten this far without your help." Izuku stands up and leaves his room and goes to the door saying goodbye to his mother and goes out this door and sees Mirko at the bottom waiting for him. "About time, I thought you still praying to your All Might statue." Izuku laughs and says, "Maybe if you stopped stuffing celery sticks every morning and getting here late I would come out earlier." Mirko was ticked off, "Tch, at least I don't spaz out getting an All Might poster." Izuku then gets ticked, "At least I don't drool in the vegetable aisle in the grocery store." Mirko then goes in front of Izuku with a vein popping out, "Wanna say that again, All Might Hick Rider?" Izuku then says, "Go nibble on some grass, there's a vegetable garden here." I'll kick your bucking ass as Izuku developed a vein around his forehead and active observation haki. Try it hops well, we all know how this goes, so let's skip to school. Izuku and Mirko make it to class as everyone sees them with bruises. Izawa would question them but doesn't give a shit and tells the class about the offers that Pro Hero sent them and all that buzz. Mirko in this one goes with Gunhead for obvious reasons, as then Izuku gets a letter given to him by Izawa and look through it as his eyes are wide. No way already. That's sick, I'll take the offer. Mirko was confused but didn't care to ask as we now go after school. The name thing is still the same. Izuku heads out of the school as he sees a blacked out car in front and went to it. The driver said, "Izuku Midoriya." Izuku said, "Yes, that's me." The driver nodded and drove out. About 2 hours go by as they're now on the opposite side of the city closer to the sea. Izuku looks out the window and sees Gang Orca's agency. The car then stops in front of it as Izuku gets out and thanks the driver. As he heads inside he goes up the elevator and goes to the last floor of the building, the tallest one. Izuku gets out as he sees him sitting down in his office. "Izuku Midoriya, I've been expecting you, please make yourself comfortable and have a seat." Izuku goes and takes a seat as Gang Orca then says, "There's a reason I chose you, a specific one in fact." As he turns on the TV beside him and rewinds the footage of the sports festival to where Izuku was fighting Shoto when he was about to launch the huge iceberg as he pauses it. Right there. Anyone in their mind would want to destroy it before it gets them, but you saw the problem with that, the awareness of the civilians around you. You had all the power to destroy it, but you didn't do it by force. It looks like it collapsed in on itself to minimize the shards going into the crowd. You were aware of what's in front and around you. That's the main reason I offered. As Izuku nods and says, "I was aware, I knew what would happen, and the people around me would get affected. Dodging it wasn't an option, destroying it by ongoing force would cause injury. I took the safest approach on this situation to not put the people's lives at risk." Orca smiled hearing this and said, "Izuku, not only do I want you for this internship, I would like you to come back for hero studies down the line if you'd like." Izuku smiles and says, "Of course, thank you." Orca then said, "Alright then, enough of the talk, now let's head out to somewhere more open." Izuku follows Orca outside and they walk down where a private beach. It was open and you could see the shore of the ocean. Izuku puts on his hero costume and reveals his blade with it as he puts it on his side. Orca stands a few feet away from Izuku as he then says, "Ready? Come at me." As Izuku charged in with observation as he swung his blade at Orca, he blocked the attempt with his arm. "Not bad now, put your back into it." Izuku jumps up as the blades get covered in haki, divine departure as the haki-infused slash of energy came crashing down on Orca with a huge explosion coming with it. Izuku comes down, "Did I hit him?" As he looks into the dust with haki as his eyes widened. Izuku looks behind him, crap, as Orca almost hit Midoriya with a fist. Izuku sees that a blade wouldn't really work in this and decides to go fist to fist. As he infused his arms with haki and legs as he activates observation. Orca smirks at this as they both clash, exchanging blows as a few minutes go by as Izuku exhausted a lot of energy and observation as he gets knocked back by Orca. "You rely too much on that observation quirk of yours, you most likely use it to see attacks quicker and faster, but if that were the case, you could be able to sharpen your senses further if you trained it more and used it wisely." Izuku never thought that he really only used it for head-on attacks. "You're right, I'll train with it and become better at sense without the use of it." Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day, bye.